We're returning to Phantasy Star now, but rather than move along the main series, we have a set of 8 short text adventures based on the party of Phantasy Star 2. These were released through the Sega channel in Japan, then released on a collection disc for the Mega CD, before their most recent release 2 decades ago on the also Japan exclusive PS2 Phantasy Star collection. So of course, these games were only released in Japanese, but an English fan translation exists, which I am using here. So this translation sticks with the Japanese names, which is fine. But to keep a bit of consistency with my Phantasy Star 2 videos, I'll use the English names when applicable, but make sure to point out these name changes to prevent any text being misunderstood. Each one is a story about each of the game's 8 party members set before the events of PS2. So first we have Amiya's adventure, Amiya Emirski being the Japanese name of Anna Zursky, a character I kept in my party for a huge chunk of Phantasy Star 2 and I found very useful. Set at B-Rock on the planet Motavia, a village at the far end of the planet, Anna is already an accomplished hunter at this time, having built up 15 arrests by now. She is here to track down a group of Motavian thieves accused of hacking Mother Brain to disrupt the dome farm that supplies food to this region. The bounties offered for arresting hackers is quite high. Parking her buggy near the village, Anna has to find her agent liaison. I have a few options for actions, but given these stories are only around 20 to 30 minutes long, there isn't that much to do. I inspect the inside of Anna's Doom buggy, then choose to look at the panel, where I find a wanted poster for the Motavian hacker. The hacker's name is actually Hack. I look in the glove box to find a knife. I take both objects and move east, my only option. It leads to a hill where I have a view of both B-Rock and its dome farm, and past that a mountainous region. Any terms highlighted in yellow I can have some kind of interaction with, usually just looking. I can look at B-Rock to see that it's impoverished, and the dome farm to be reminded that the Mother Brain regulates all growth on Motavia. But at this point in time there's no indication of the Mother Brain's true purpose. I continue east to reach the entrance to the dome farm. I can inspect it to see that its door has malfunctioned, being stuck open. From here, moving south as we enter the farm. And I can tell that something has gone wrong here, as most of the food grown here has already started withering. The storehouse is to the south and the control room to the west. I check out the control room first. It just reminds me that the dome is remotely controlled by Mother Brain, so I check out the storehouse. Checking the crops here shows that even the harvested ones have started rotting. It's clear that no workers have been here for a while. I leave the dome and head north to the base of the mountains, but this is another dead end. So I return to the dome entrance and continue east to reach B-Rock Village. The town is miserable, with every house locked up but one. I move south to that house. There's a single man drinking while staring distrustfully at Anna. I can have him ask what Anna is doing here, then respond by showing him the wanted poster to make him reveal that he is the liaison. He gives her some handcuffs for when she finds her target. Back north and north again to reach the village plaza, where several villagers can be found. By checking them out, a man and woman can turn to face Anna. The man says that they've been too afraid to go near the worksite ever since the Motavians showed up. The woman says they'll have to go back to work eventually though, or everyone will starve. I go back to the dome. At this point it's become evening. A Motavian emerges from his hiding place. 7 or 8 more appear and they enter the storehouse, while a very tall one of them goes to the control room. Since tall Motavians are very rare, this must be Hack, the one Anna is looking for. I follow him to the control room and find him hunched over a keyboard. Anna approaches from behind, but Hack turns around. I take out the handcuffs, but then the other Motavians start piling into the room, knocking her out. She wakes up to find the place deserted. Checking the control room has Anna figure out that Hack was accessing the Mother Brain from this computer. Checking the computer has Anna discovered that the circuit for the switch has been cut, probably Hack before he escaped. I return to the mountain base and look around to find Motavian footprints on the floor. Following them leads to a gap in the rocks, where there's a narrow path to the north. I follow the path which eventually splits east and west, with Anna spotting the movement of a shadow to the east. I head that way to be attacked by a flying biomonster. There is combat in this game, and it sucks. You use one of your items, roll a pair of dice, and that determines your damage. Then the enemy does the same. There is no strategy and it is random. And with no checkpoints, you could get screwed by bad dice RNG and have to repeat the entire story for another go. The only upside to combat is that each chapter has its own battle theme, and some of them can be catchy. I take the bat down in 3 turns, losing 17 of my 50 HP. This path is a dead end, but there is a mushroom on the ground I can pick up. I go back and take the western fork to reach a cliff. I head south to reach a dead end with a pole in the ground and with a warning flag attached. I take it. Back to the cliff and north to reach the mountainside, where boulders are growing moss. Inspecting the moss reveals it is damaged, probably something rubbing against it. The trail of damaged moss leads east, so I go that way and can move in all 4 directions from here, but a screech can be heard to the north. There is a nest made by a Motavian crow. The chick here is what I'm fighting. It takes 4 turns to kill, the writing trying its best to make you feel bad for what you did. Back south, I continue east into a stone corridor. There's a metallic object on the floor, which turns out to be part of a trap to capture monsters. I use the pole on the trap to set it off and make this area safe. I keep moving east and then south, ending up in total darkness. I can't go any further. Eventually, I figure out to return to the crow's nest and look inside to find an infrared scope. I head back into the darkness, now just a tunnel. On the western wall is a door with a knothole. Peeking through reveals the room is full of Mortavians. So I go west to find another storehouse. It's filled with boxes, mostly nothing useful, but I do find and take a boomerang. Back to the tunnel, I head north to find a dining room. It's empty, but there are chairs around the table and food set. I steal the food and eat it, fully recovering Anna's health. I then head south and find Hack in his room. He isn't surprised to see Anna, he just laughs. There's another door to the south, but he's in the way. I try the handcuffs again, but he just runs off south. Anna notices when hearing his taunts that he speaks very clearly for a Mortavian, sounding more like a human. I head south, exiting the cave, and have a further choice of south or west. To the west, I get attacked by a hornet. I miss my first attack, but the second is enough to kill it in one. During this fight, Hack has disappeared. I go back east and then south to end up in another fight. Hack beckons Anna towards him, but between them are hole worms coming from the ground. This one takes 2 hits to kill. Once again, Hack ran off during the fight. I move west to end up in another cliff. To the south, a desert can be seen below the cliff with very strong winds. I keep moving west along the cliff to see more desert. Anna can see Hack at the bottom of the cliff as he runs to the east. All I can do up here is keep going west to find a cabin. It's very damaged, but I go inside. Anna sees some fabric on a wall, joined with a stick to form a hang glider. I take it and return to where I found Hack. I use the hang glider, safely landing in the desert below. I start by moving south to find a field of stones littered with bones. One skeletal hand is holding onto a silver key I take. Back north and then west to find a boulder with a box behind it. The box is locked, so I use a silver key on it to find a pair of sand skis. With it now easier to travel across sand, I go back east and east again to a quicksand dune. A green hill can be seen to the south. I move that way to find a cactus garden. I can use my knife on the cactus, cut some off and eat it to restore health. Back north and east again, Anna can see a shadow, the silhouette definitely belonging to Hack. South to a quicksand whirlpool, Anna finally has Hack cornered. But a group of Mortavians appear and back Anna to the edge of the whirlpool herself. Hack approaches and I have Anna try the handcuffs again, but she loses her balance and falls into a whirlpool. The other Mortavians celebrate while Hack kneels and looks on. Looking at Hack will have him offer his hand to help Anna out, but once she grabs him, Hack falls too and they both sink. Anna wakes up inside a cavern. Hack lays next to her unconscious. Anna believes Hack must have shielded her with his body. I move east some more to recover Anna's knife, handcuffs and boomerang. Going back to Hack, I finally place the handcuffs on him. At that moment he wakes up. He calls Anna heartless for repaying his help this way, and he doesn't believe she'll be able to get him out of here anyway. I let him complain and move west into swampland, seeing the entrance to a familiar cave. An unknown rumbling sound can be heard while Hack has no choice but to follow. I ask him for directions, but he's not very helpful, so I go north. There's some tall grass here and a nest. Inspecting that has me find an egg I take. Talking to Hack has him mock Anna, saying that she's probably dying here and it's her own fault having such an unladylike profession. Back south and south again takes me to a lake. Hack says going this way will drown the both of them. Back north and then west puts me in a fight with a frog. More importantly, they must be close to being out as it has begun to rain, reaching down here. I give it the egg to make it eat it and go to sleep. I can now move north. Anna is exhausted and lightning has started striking, lighting up a shrine to the west. I head into the shrine to shelter from the storm. Talking to Hack has him decide to stop being a dick and give Anna his cloak to keep her warm. This reveals that he isn't Mortavian, but a young human. Yeah, this is going where you think it is. The photograph falls to the ground when the cloak comes off. It shows a human couple. Handing it back to Hack has him say that they were his parents who disappeared when he was very young. This made him believe humans were heartless, as it was Mortavians that took him in and raised him. Anna sympathises as she lost her own parents at a young age, but she still has to arrest him because it's her job. Well, that and my parents disappeared isn't exactly a good reason to starve an unrelated village's population. As dawn starts, they notice a crevice in the wall, giving a view of the B-Rock village. The only thing keeping them from freedom is a boulder blocking the way back. Anna can't push it, so I have her silently pester Hack to do it. Then he kisses her and it's supposed to be emotional, but no. Moving west takes them back to the village, which is quiet with nobody awake yet. Going south takes them back to the agent liaison. He assumes Anna is wasting mission time on a date. I retrace the steps back to the Dome Farm's control room. Hack says he found the password he was looking for and looks up his parents. They died in a car crash the year he was born, then the Mortavians took him in. This allows Hack to let go of his bitterness, knowing he wasn't actually abandoned. Now he knows his parents weren't evil, he throws those Mortavians who raised him under the bus, saying they taught him to be a criminal. He's ready to hand himself in, but Anna decides to let him go, deciding he suffered enough. But she also reasons that if he isn't returned to the Mortavians, they might attack the village to look for him. She also states she has developed feelings for him. She returns to her buggy and reports the unsuccessful mission. This is apparently the incident that led to Anna abandoning her position as a hunter and becoming a counter-hunter. Basically the same thing, but she also hunts down corrupt hunters. The point of these is to let us know a little more about a pretty underdeveloped party. This is not a great start. I came away from this liking Anna less. Hearing in the original that she hunted down the corrupt in her job gives you a certain image of what led her to this. But then we find out it's because she falls in love with an arsehole who belittles her for being a woman in her job, calls her stupid and heartless, forces a kiss on her, inflicts great suffering on innocent people, and is ready to change who he blames for his actions instantly, and decided that guy was just too good to face punishment. This chapter really did her dirty. And fuck Hack. Everything I just said and they expect me to think he's not that bad, piss off. I was very disappointed to see how they treated the character I spent a lot of time keeping in my party. Let's just hope the next one goes better. This is Anne's adventure, Anne Saga being Amy Sage's Japanese name. In Rivertown, Amy has just finished her internship, employed at a small hospital. One day the director tells her that an elementary school in Woodtown has been attacked by biomonsters. He wants Amy over there to treat the injured. I leave his office into the hallway, I head south into another corridor and west into the sick room. Checking out the patients, there are 5, one of them a 10-year-old boy. He's building a model ship, the glue he used being nearby, so I take it. Talking to the boy, he says that somewhere near here is a rock hiding a crystal that makes your body extremely powerful, and that he's going to look for it when he's better. Back in the corridor, I go east into the supply room. The key to the pharmacy is there, so I take it. Back to the hallway to use the key to unlock the pharmacy. Inside is one of the original game's healing items, a Trimate, so I take that too. Back to the hallway and north takes me out of the hospital, then east to a street corner. There's a wooden plank on the floor and I take it with me. East some more has me enter a weapon shop, where the owner says that her cheapest weapon is 100 meseta, I only have 20. So back to the street corner and north into Rivertown. A young man is hanging out here, talking to him as him praise the owner of the nearby shop as a master carpenter, so I head east to enter said shop. But I have nothing for him right now, so I leave and go west to knock on the door of a small house. A woman answers and, recognising Amy as a doctor, asks her to check out her ill daughter. The girl has a fever, so I give her the Trimate, healing her instantly. As thanks, the woman gives Amy 70 meseta, just barely not enough for a weapon. Back outside, going north takes me to the outskirts, where there's a stylish house. Reading the sign here teaches me that Woodtown is to the north. Checking out the house reveals that it's actually Amy's house. Going west to enter Amy's house, I can take her nail puller with me. Back outside and going north takes me to a bridge, but it's broken. There's a notice nearby warning me of a one-eyed man known only as this scoundrel. From here I go west along the riverbank, getting stared at by a Mortavian. He wants a tool for pulling nails, and I give him mine in exchange for a raft. I was expecting a huge wooden thing, but it's just a rubber raft. And the fucker scammed me, it has a hole in it, so it isn't taking me anywhere. But I can glue the hole shut so I don't have to put any holes in him. I keep going west to the riverbed, where across the river from here is a forest and a small building. I try the raft, but I lack an oar. I return to the workshop in town to hand over the plank and have it cut into an oar. It cost me 50 meseta. I return to the riverbed and now I can get in the raft. I move north to end up outside the abandoned house. The house is boarded up, but I do see a sack on the ground and take it, finding 100 meseta inside. I return to the weapon shop in town and buy myself a knife with that money I found. Returning to the busted bridge, I go east this time to end up in a fight with a massive ant. I manage to defeat it in 3 hits with minimal damage, but it runs off with my knife still stuck in its body, after all the effort I went through to afford it. In this spot I get in the raft again and go north towards Woodtown, but the raft begins to deflate. The hole has reopened and I'm stuck on the other side now. Going east puts me inside a cabin. Amy checks out all the details in this place before she actually acknowledges the owner, Hines. He's researching healing techniques and will offer a free heal if I return to him. I look through his desk to find and take a Dimate, the basic healing item from the original game. Back outside I go west to reach the other side of the broken bridge. Going north takes me to a fork. The guard here tells me not to take the route leading into the forest, so I go east and see Woodtown finally coming into view. North has me reach Woodtown to find that it wasn't just the school, biomonsters have wrecked the entire town. Buildings have been completely destroyed and smoke rises from everywhere. There's one man beside the ruins of his home. He mumbles to himself that the poison fangs can't stand the smell of red flowers. I go north to reach the school I was looking for. There is not a sound coming from it. I go north to the edge of town to see a flower bed. I take a red flower, it giving off a strong scent. I go back south and then east to enter the school, which is in darkness thanks to biomonsters cutting the power. Can't go any further without a light. Back into the main area of Woodtown and west, I end up fighting a poison fang. I use the red flower to scare it off. North from there takes me to another section of town reduced to rubble. There's an old man on the ground poisoned. I go west to enter a second-hand shop. The place is smashed up with no one inside, letting me take this laser knife for free. Back outside and south, I have to deal with the poison fang again. The laser knife can do a lot of damage, but so can the poison fang. I end up needing to use the red flower again to survive. I return to Heinz to have him heal me and give it another go. It seems damage dealt is kept after it flees, and my first hit kills it. Amy makes an antidote from his corpse, which I give to the old man. He thanks Amy by giving her a lamp, so it's back into the school to have a look around. I go north into the faculty room, still no sign of life. There's a history book here, left open on the page that tells of a golden ring on an altar in the forest. South into a corridor, Amy can hear noises up the stairs. I go up them and see a huge biomonster. It doesn't care about Amy and continues towards a classroom. Amy can't risk the monster finding any possible survivors, so I have to fight. But a voice yells out that normal weapons can't hurt it, only the golden ring can. So I have to flee and let the monster roam free a little longer. Back to the turning point, the guard has collapsed. Checking him reveals that he's dead, his back sliced up by a biomonster. I come back after healing with Heinz and go west into the forest. This part is Forest C. North takes me to Forest E, where there is a stone monument at the base of a large tree. It has an engraving reading Alschlein Melts Stone. West takes me to Forest F, west again to Forest G, west again to Forest B. West once more takes me to the edge of the forest where I'm attacked by a grass killer, the sickles giving away that it killed the guard. It takes a few hits to defeat it and make it run away. North from here is the mountain pass, where there is a hut to the west. I go in and get held up by a one-eyed man with a shotgun, the man from the wanted poster. He's not alone, and Amy gets choked from behind and chloroformed. She wakes up inside their hideout with a headache and pain everywhere. She has no idea how long she's been out, but she's been bound and gagged, left with a young man guarding her. By continuing to look at him, Amy notices the man blushed and she realises he may have more of a conscience than the others. Eventually, continuing to stare has him give in and let her go. Going south puts me in the room Amy was attacked in, the rest of the gang not here. I look inside the desk here to take a key and an old tome. I go up to the second floor to recover my raft and lamp. I move south from the hut near a river, finding a jet scooter. The key I took was for this. Getting on the scooter, I start moving east along the river. I return to the riverbank where the Motavium was. He regrets his swap and wants the raft back, returning my nail puller. I use the scooter to return to the abandoned warehouse where I found the sack of money and use a nail puller to remove the board so I can get inside. It stinks of mould, but there's an altar here. Place of sacrifice is inscribed on it. I offer up the old tome and a bright light from the altar grants me the golden ring. I return to Heinz for a heal. He instead gives Amy his pendant that allows her to use the technique Sarasuta so she can heal others herself. But using it to heal others will drain her own health. With what I was after, I return to the second floor of the school to find the biomonster nowhere in sight. I inspect the classroom it was eyeing up and find the teacher and children very badly injured, but still alive. I heal everyone, losing 10 HP. The teacher says that the monster was a kite devil and they believe its next target will be Rivertown. I rush back towards Rivertown, finding that the bridge connecting the towns has been fixed. This gives Amy hope that the town's maintenance program is still online, meaning the town must have survived. But I reach the outskirts and see it in ruins, making her fear the power of this one monster. Her own house is just rubble as well. Going west from the outskirts takes me to an open field, the only place spared. There's a strange rock here, and inspecting it has Amy sense a strange power. I go further into town, the street corner wrecked, the outlaw who attacked Amy in the mountains lying injured. I heal him, moving him so much after what he did to her that he gives her a small bottle of Alschlein. I return to the rock in the field and use the Alschlein on it, melting it away and leaving only a crystal. I return to the hospital, walls crumbling from the damage caused by the kite devil. I find the injured director and heal him. He says they hid all the patients in the basement, but the kite devil is heading that way. I enter the supply room to find it. I use the crystal to form a barrier, but a single hit from the kite devil defeats Amy. But rather than dying, Amy wakes up in Heinz's cabin. He says that taking on the kite devil alone was foolish and that he will join her this time. I return to the supply room and Heinz takes the golden ring. He'll do the fighting, needing Amy to heal him. But it's still me making the decision to fight with the golden ring. Even Amy's HP is used to represent Heinz's, so it's just a normal fight gameplay wise. It only takes 3 hits from the golden ring before the Kite Devil crumbles and shatters. I go into the basement to save the patients, finding the young boy first. It wasn't just the patients, the entire town was hiding here and applauds Amy. Amy though is forced to take in the fact that her home and the hospital she works at has been destroyed, and realises that there must be people all over the planet suffering like this. This puts her in her position at the start of the original game, ready to travel the world to put her healing powers to use. This was so much better than Anna's story. What I love is that it really sells the terror of these generic random battle fodder from the perspective of a normal person who has to live in the world where they exist. And for a character I never thought of much in the original game past, I guess I need a healer so she can come too, Amy comes across really well here. Sure, she needs a bit of bailing out in the final battle, but even in the original game, physical fighting wasn't her strength. It shows how far she'll go to help heal people without giving up even when at first glance things look to be completely lost and hopeless. It made my opinion of this character really shoot up. But now we get to check on the original game's main character in Eustace's adventure, Eustace being Rolf's Japanese name. Strange that the main character is the only human party member to lack a surname. I guess maybe they didn't want to give away that he's a descendant of Alice from Phantasy Star 1, but the game set 1,000 years later, it's improbable that the surname Lansdale would pass all the way directly down to him anyway. This one starts further back than the others, with Rolf as an 11-year-old, still living in Paseo. He's living in an orphanage after his parents' death in an accident the previous year. Even this young, he's proven himself to be an exceptional student, sportsman and especially swordsman. This granted him a lot of fame that left him very arrogant, but fate has a lot planned for him even before the fight with Mother Brain. I start in Rolf's bedroom and look in the mirror, really showing just how highly he thinks of himself at this point in time. I move east into the hallway and east again into the room of his friend Shelley. Looking at Shelley tells us that the two have feelings for each other, but I don't recall Shelley making any appearance in the original game, so I don't have a good feeling for her chances. Even snooping around her shelves right in front of her to piss her off doesn't affect her feelings. Back into the hallway and north into the entryway. A security guard won't let Rolf leave at this time of night without the director's permission. So back south and south again to another hallway. East into the dining room to swipe some bread from one of the tables. Back out and west takes me to Dick's room. He says that a famous fencer has been coming to the gym lately and that he may even be more skilled than Rolf. That pisses Rolf right off as he has never lost a duel, not even to an adult. He's just going to have to beat this guy and prove his superiority. Talking to Dick again has him say that he swiped some booze from the director. Talking to him again makes him admit that he also likes Shelley and wrote her a love letter, but he wants Rolf to deliver it because he daren't. I return to Shelley, give her the letter, and don't tell her who it's from so that she thinks Rolf wrote it. While Shelley is glued to the love letter, I can freely snoop about her shelves and steal a doll that is very important to her. I give the doll to Dick to make him think Shelley is returning his feelings. While he dances around the room in happiness, I steal the booze. I go back out and south to the director's office. He just tells me to go to bed. I return to the entryway and give the security guard the booze. He downs his all at once and falls asleep. I go west into the storage room and take my sword. Back west and then north out onto the streets of Paseo. I go west to end up outside the sword gym and then north to go inside. Rolf asks the instructor about the swordsman, whose name is O'Connor. He's here but busy right now, so the instructor will spar with Rolf instead. Strange that while every chapter has its own battle theme, Rolf gets a variation of Amy's battle theme, everyone else gets a unique track. Thanks to bad dice RNG, I miss my first attack and barely defeat the guy with just 12 HP left. The instructor points me over to O'Connor's room. And O'Connor is the commander from the original game who I joked about looking like Simmons from your video games. I'm finally learning his name, which as far as I'm aware disappeared through the cracks during PS2's localization, unless I missed it being mentioned somewhere. He's heard of Rolf, but he isn't too impressed and thinks he needs to be humbled. You cannot win this fight, so Rolf must experience his first loss. O'Connor laughs at Rolf for genuinely thinking there could be no one out there more skilled. Rolf runs out into the city aimlessly, only becoming aware of his surroundings when he gets deeper into the city. He stumbles into a Motavian soothsayer who can work out Rolf's troubles. Rolf asks how he can regain his self-confidence. He is told to work hard and overcome his shortcomings. And that's enough for Rolf, he just has to keep practicing and one day he'll be able to beat O'Connor. He is told that Uzo Island would be the best place to train as it is uninhabited, so the Solitude would let him focus. This gets Rolf fired up and he prepares for his trip the next morning. I go to the director's office to get his permission. The guy is somehow perfectly fine with an 11-year-old going off to an abandoned island to live in solitude. He gives Rolf a farewell gift of 50 meseta. Dick is still asleep from the drinking he did last night, so Rolf chooses not to bother him. Shelley is also asleep and Rolf worries that if he tells her, she'll cry and convince him to stay. Outside the orphanage, I go east to reach the Paseo airport. The gift from the director pays for his ticket and the plane takes off. If the island is uninhabited, why are there regular flights there? There's no airport staff there? 8 years later, 2 years before the events of the original game, Rolf returns, now aged 19. A neat little mention is that the other destination at the airport is Skyon, a town on the planet Palma from the first Phantasy Star, where Odin was from. Of course, this is 2 years before 2, so Palma hasn't been blown up yet. I go west to return to the streets, the city having expanded greatly in his time away. But Rolf can still see his old orphanage to the south. It looks to be the only place that didn't change while he was away. I go into the storage room, which seems to have been neglected for a while. A desk in here holds a membership certificate, so I take it with no idea of what it's for. Moving down the hallways, Rolf's and Shelley's old rooms now belong to new orphans. The dining room and director's office are still the same though. In the dining room is a man sat at a table with his head in his hands. It's Dick. I take the bread next to him. Dick recognises Rolf, but trying to get anything else out of him makes him cry. So I check in on the director to find that O'Connor is there too. He'd like to see how Rolf has improved, but now isn't the time. Shelley, who'd stayed here to look after the newer orphans, has been kidnapped. They left a ransom note demanding someone come alone to Myra Tower in Skyon if they want Shelley back. O'Connor was going to go, but Rolf volunteers instead. The director gives him a space pass and 200 meseta. I go back to Dick, who asks Rolf to give Shelley the contents of a golden box when he finds her. I can return to the gym for one more sparring session with Rolf's old instructor. I defeat him, but it takes a million hits for some reason. The instructor gives Rolf an old tape that he says explains how to perform the Phantom technique, Tendo Zanhaken. After swiping some more bread to heal with, I return to the airport. So we don't get to see it because it's all text, but we actually get to visit a little bit of Palma during the Phantasy Star 2 time frame. Moving east takes me to an inn, and I can rest here to heal for 100 meseta. Up the stairs is a tape recorder and a black key. I use the tape on the recorder to learn the Phantom technique. The tape gives one last warning that the technique drains the user's energy before it crumbles to dust. I have to waste my bread to make inventory space for the key though. Back to the airport and then west and north to enter a weapon shop. There's a light sword on display here, but the owner doesn't sell to non-members, so I go back south and then west to a road where I'm attacked by a mechanised soldier. 3 hits to deal with it and it drops 200 meseta. I return to the weapon shop and show the owner the membership card I pinched from the orphanage to make him sell me the light sword for 400 meseta. Back to the road and west again, Rolf sees a strange structure here, realising this must be Myra Tower. I approach the tower, but it's locked. I move north into a vacant lot where a warehouse can be seen to the east. It's locked, but the black key can unlock it. Inside I get attacked by another soldier. The light sword takes these down even quicker. He drops some dynamite and another 200 meseta. After staying at the inn, I use the dynamite on the entrance of Myra Tower to blow the door open. Starting on the first floor, I move west into a small room and up the stairs to the second floor. I move east and east again to find a gold key on the floor. I use the gold key on the golden box Dick gave me to find the doll I stole from Shelley and made Dick think she was giving to him. I get a bit lost, constantly moving east and west and checking out all the southern forks until I find a room with a card on the floor. I take it and from there I go north, west, north and east to find a laser gun I take. I go north, east, north, north and up the stairs to the third floor. Up here is another locked door requiring the card I found to open. Inside I find Shelley. Rolf is stunned by her appearance after all these years, but then she starts attacking him with a sword. She looks to have been brainwashed, refusing to let Rolf go further. 2 hits is enough to defeat her. Even lying injured, she still tries her best to block Rolf's progress. I give her the doll. Remembering it as her favourite, she says she was looking for it for so long. This undoes the brainwashing. She recognises Rolf, but they don't have time for a proper reunion with her kidnapper still here. I go up the stairs and then north to find a shutter. Rolf is certain the kidnapper is behind it. I use the laser gun to cut through the shutter and keep moving east. The room is filled with computers and there is a man with his back facing Rolf. The man turns around to reveal that he is O'Connor. He claims to have staged Shelley's kidnapping to lure Rolf here to destroy him, as his 8 years of training makes him a threat to O'Connor's plans of world domination. The final battle starts and I get cocky, turning down the chance to heal at 2 HP and being defeated. Thankfully this doesn't make me restart the entire thing, so I can limp down to the inn, heal, try again and win this time. Rolf goes for the killing blow, but Shelley stops him. There was no kidnapping. The entire situation was a test that everyone was in on. Shelley is now an agent of the Mortavian government and O'Connor the Governor General. O'Connor explains that he attained that role 8 years ago and moved to Paseo hearing the rumours about Rolf. He knew he'd need a successor one day and thought Rolf would be perfect were he not so arrogant. So he humiliated Rolf as a child to motivate him to be better and reach his true potential. That's when Dick, the director, and even the soothsayer who recommended Uzo Island to him appeared. The kidnapping plot was developed as his final exam for becoming an agent, and he has passed. So even the part about getting the security guard drunk so Rolf could leave the orphanage to fight O'Connor was planned too. Rolf accepts his new job, putting him in the position to act out the events of the original game. I found this whole 8 years of solitude and then a staged kidnapping plan everyone was in on and Rolf taking it so well a bit hard to believe, but I appreciate this one for letting us know more about Rolf. In the original game, he isn't terribly interesting, so getting to see how he used to be and how he improved was nice. It's a shame they set up a little social circle for him that has to just disappear after this because they were created after the original game was made. Because it does bring up questions about this years-long attraction between him and Shelley and how it panned out. 2 years later, he's just got Nia living with him as a younger sister figure and Shelley is nowhere. Did things either progress in the next 2 years and then go south, or did their jobs as agents keep them apart? I'm actually interested here. When I first played, I was certain she was going to be killed off to explain why she isn't in the original game, but apparently she was added to Phantasy Star 2's PlayStation 2 remake, so maybe one day I'll get to that and see how they fit her in. But let's move on to the last one for this episode, Huey's adventure. Huey Reen being Hugh Thompson's Japanese name. You know Hugh, right? The only party member in the original there's no point to ever use? Well, this takes place during his university days in Kvat City, a place not far from Paseo that wasn't important enough in the original game to appear in it. He does genetic engineering research for the university. Huey's relaxing, enjoying the cool summer weather when his Visa phone rings. The president of the university wants to talk to him. Out into the city's central avenue, I move north to the crossroads. A street says the university campus is to the east and the energy centre to the west. I try the energy centre first, but the guard won't let Hugh in. So I go east twice to the university. The flowers on the campus were created by Hugh in his lab. The students nearby are talking about rumours of the gym being haunted. North takes me into the lobby, the receptionist saying that the president is waiting on the second floor. I should say that this one is painful to watch back in script because it was the first I recorded as it was the first guide I found. And I was still getting used to all the menus, so everything is so slow. I go upstairs to the president's office. He says that there are rumours of a strange creature roaming the campus and he wants you to investigate before there is an incident. Back down into the lobby, I go east into a hallway. I go north into the cafeteria to notice that the usually crispy chicken meal is soggy, and to speak to Hugh's never before mentioned girlfriend, Rita. Hugh tells her the situation, but she doesn't know anything about it. Hugh tells her he's been working on a new kind of flower and that he'll give her one when they're finished. I head east into the kitchen where the chef is in a bad mood. They get him all these expensive cooking appliances, but the bad energy supply is keeping him from cooking properly. He wonders what's going on down at the reactor. Checking the appliances confirms there's no problems on their end. Back into the hallway and south into a shop. This place sells Motavian manju buns, but a single one costs double all the money I have. Back to the hallway and east into another. East again into a classroom where I can ask Hugh's friend Lloyd about the creature. He thinks he saw a shadow moving around the gym basement. He also demands the 50 meseta Hugh owes him. There's also a metal bat I can take here. North puts me in a storage room, but there's nothing to do in here. Back to the hallway outside this classroom and south to a third hallway, then east into another classroom where I look through a locker to find a pair of novelty fake glasses. Back to the hallway and south to a fourth hallway. Here I go east to enter the research department. I go to grab the key to the labs, but the box that holds it is empty. Back out and down the stairs in the fourth hallway to the power section. But the guard won't let Hugh in without his clearance, and he was in such a rush to get here that he forgot his card. So I go back to the cafeteria where Rita lets Hugh borrow hers. Back to the lobby now, then south to the front gate, then south again to the gym entrance. This is where Hugh's enemies, Rhodey and his gang, are hanging out. It turns out they're all jealous because of his relationship with Rita. So to avoid a fight, I have Hugh wear the fake glasses so that he can pretend to be a member of staff and scare them all off. I then continue south into the gym. I read a nearby sign saying that going into the reactor room is prohibited without permission, as it's where the gym equipment is powered. I go south again to see that reactor and see that a power line has been cut. Taking a closer look has me attacked by a petite flower, the likely culprit. You'd think the metal bat would be the obvious choice of weapon. You'd be wrong. Rita's ID card is so razor thin it deals comparable damage to Rolf's light sword from his chapter. It's not long before the flower is killed. It drops a key belonging to the biology group. The flower's body then starts moving and escapes through a crack in the floor. I return to the research department and unlock both doors. I go north into the lab belonging to Ralph, who is experimenting with his gene synthesizer. He's another of Hugh's friends. Hugh doesn't tell him about the current situation and just lets Ralph complain about the guard, because he keeps buying up all the manju buns. I next check out Hugh's lab. This is where Hugh is developing his new flowers unlike anything on Motavia. Checking the monitor shows that they have been receiving far more power than intended. Hugh is troubled by this, but is focusing on the plant monster, a connection never occurring to him. I take Hugh's lab coat only for a mad flower to be hiding behind it. 2 cuts with the ID card defeats it and the flower escapes into the basement through the floor. I rummage through the lab coat and find 40 Meseta. I then put on the lab coat to increase his defense. I go back to the shop and use that money to buy a manju bun. Then back to the power section to bribe the guard with the bun. I go south into the passageway, then east into a second passageway. North from there is the security room. All the rooms on the monitors are empty, but the transformer room's camera display isn't working. There's a stun baton to take too. Back south and east into a third passageway. The cracks in the floor here contain a sticky fluid. North into a fourth passageway to pick up a mop. Back south and east into the janitor's closet. Looking at the vent in the ceiling shows that there's something out of reach inside. I use the mop to pull out a shotgun and take it with me. Going back west and west again, then south into the lounge where the security guards take their breaks. There's a vending machine that only works with a security ID card. Or I can use my shotgun to make it malfunction and give me a free Dimate. Back north, east and north to the fourth passageway, then east to a fifth. A sound can be heard from the transformer room to the east. I go east to check it out. Huge tentacles belonging to a crazy wire are breaking through the wall. The shotgun rolls 3 dice, causing enough damage to defeat it in one. The tentacles escape back into the wall. I move south into a 6th passageway and down the stairs into the control room. The operator is here, standing terrified in front of the row of monitors. He saw a monster on one of them. Hugh can see something move into the reactor room. I go west to a 7th passageway and south into the reactor room to find the culprit, a massive plant monster, the Keith flower. After a bit of fighting, Hugh notices that it's absorbing power through the lines, so I cut them with the ID card. Weakened, the flower flees through the ceiling. I return to the President's office and explain everything. Based on what we've seen of its evolution and behaviour, he works out that the flower's next target will be the energy centre, so he makes arrangements to get me access. I can visit Rita and Rhodey to get some words of encouragement, and I return to the energy centre, being allowed in this time. I go south into the lobby, then west into an office. It seems no one told the staff, as Hugo has to really try to get their attention and tell them what's going on, but they've heard nothing about any monster. Next I go south into a dressing room. Hugh can see movement behind one of the curtains in the women's showers. Against all odds, it's a woman showering, and he takes damage from the resulting beating, both physical and reputational. So I leave and go back in. In that time the women have fled and I can steal a bottle of shampoo. Back to the office and west into a passageway, then south into the cafeteria. I can loot their vending machines for Dimates too. Back into the passageway and north into the secretary's office, then west into the chief's office. He thinks he'll wipe out the monster with his family sword if he runs into it. I go back into the passageway and continue west into another, then west to the third shutter. This shouldn't open without a staff ID card, but using the shotgun on the switch works too. Past it is the second shutter and I do the same thing. Then the third shutter, and behind it, the plant has evolved into a crisis flower and has attached itself to the reactor. Checking out the reactor, Hugh realises he could make the flower absorb more power than it can contain. He just needs the control key. Trying to cut the power lines here would result in an explosion that would wipe the city off the face of the planet. I retreat through the shutters, which now have plant tentacles growing through. I return to the chief's office to find he has fled, along with all his expensive decorations. I take the control key from his desk and have to fight off all the tentacles in the shutters to reach the control room again. I insert the control key and load up the flower with energy, but the key breaks from being turned too much. The key is the same shape as the shampoo bottle I took and fits in perfectly. The creature starts mutating uncontrollably and explodes into petals. Hugh recognises them as the flowers he was working on. He realises his own experiment evolved out of his control. That's when everyone we know turns up. Rita hits Hugh for causing this mess and it just ends. This was alright, better than Anna's anyway. We learn a bit about Hugh, not enough to make me care, but also get no satisfying conclusion. It basically ends on a gag. But that's where we'll be leaving it this time. Another game I thought I could do in one video, but the script is turning out way longer than expected. Next episode we'll look at the remaining 4 chapters for Kane, Nay, Rudolph and Cher.